I'd like to take you back with me to a particularly challenging time in my life. The year is 2007. I'd just moved back to Australia, and I had just sold the business that I had devoted everything to for 13 years. And there I was, having successfully exited my company, and on paper, everything looks great and life is full of possibilities. But emotionally, I felt completely lost. My status, my income, my role in life, even my identity, it seemed to vanish overnight. And in a snap of my fingers, I no longer knew where I fit, where I belonged, who I was. Because I had gone from someone who was well known and respected in her industry, constantly in the thick of things, to someone on the outside, with no clue about where to go next. And I began to question, would I ever experience that same level of business success or impact again? Would I ever feel that sense of momentum, of recognition, of belonging in my community ever again? And of course, the answer to those questions is yes, but it took me years to rebuild. And not just rebuild my business and my career, but my sense of self, my confidence. I had to find a new identity that wasn't so tied to the business that I'd built, one that connected to who I really was and what I now wanted out of life. And honestly, there are still moments where those old doubts, they pop up, that little voice that says, will I ever reach my biggest goals? Have I reached my peak and gone past it? But I have learned to see those thoughts for what they are, fears, not the truth. I learned that we all can, reinvent ourselves any time. We can get through these periods of uncertainty and crisis of confidence by taking the right steps forward. And that's what we're talking about in today's episode. So buckle in. Hello. My name is Susie Daphnis. I'm your host and I'm the CEO of Her Business. And today we're leaning into a topic that can stir up some discomfort, which is exactly why we're exploring it. We're talking about the thoughts and the emotions that come up when you're not where you thought you would be in life and in business, when you feel like you've just been hit with a crisis of confidence. When it seems like everyone around you has their life together, but you feel stuck or stagnant or just not fulfilled with where you are. Because I know that you have had some kind of dream or vision for what life would be like. We all have these ideas of how we want life to turn out. And maybe you're a type A planner like me who likes to sketch out their dream life down to the details, every year planned out. Or maybe you're more of a type B person and you go where the wind takes you. But you still have some idea of what your ideal life looks like or where you want it to be. And I think that's just part of human nature, wanting to dream about what could be, what we could make with our precious lives. But what if the vision hasn't actualized? What if the life you have right now looks very different to the dream that you once had for it? It's a heavy realization to have, right? And honestly, it's a crappy feeling to work through. But the funny part is that I think every single person has that feeling, that crisis. But each and every one of us thinks that we're experiencing it alone. And it's a feeling that happens even when we do hit the goals, when we've ticked the boxes. So let's talk about what the feeling is and why we all feel it but hate talking about it, and how to take steps that lead you towards deeper fulfillment. Like I said, even after achieving big goals, many women look around and think, okay, why don't I feel satisfied? Why don't I feel fulfilled? Why don't I feel happy? It's a disconnect that triggers self-doubt. We've all fallen for the belief that once you hit those milestones, whether they're revenue goals, team size, lifestyle upgrades, that we will feel a certain way. But then you don't. And it can lead to a major crisis of both identity and purpose. And we see women all around us seemingly living their best lives. And social media is like a highlight reel. And we compare our behind the scenes to someone else's polished, filtered, public-facing Instagram life. So whether it's friends traveling the world or peers scaling their businesses or perfect families and perfect relationships, we're constantly fed evidence that others are doing better or are happier. And let's be honest, it's nearly impossible to not internalize that. So many women have been conditioned, whether explicitly or implicitly, to put others first and not to take up too much space, to stay likable, to keep the peace. And ambition sometimes clashes with those messages. So when we feel uncertain, the old scripts can creep back in. The thoughts of, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or who am I to think I can have more? Who am I to even want more? And on top of the doubts, we're hit by life's challenges. Midlife, divorce, empty nesting, illness, the loss of a parent. And all these things can shake our sense of self. And for a woman who has always defined herself by her roles, whether that is mother, wife, business owner, these traditions can create a sense of being unmoored. The map that you're looking at changes, so you start to question the direction you're going. There's this unspoken pressure to have it all together. So instead of saying, I feel kind of lost, we just soldier on. And that isolation feeds the feeling that everyone else is doing fine and I'll just keep quiet over here because I'm the only one feeling this way. And we're all susceptible to this thinking because we are human. No matter how successful you are, self-worth can be tied up to old definitions of value, like how productive am I being? How busy am I? Getting external praise or being needed by others. We are fed a narrow vision of what success should look like. So what do? Are we just stuck in this spot? The good news is that these thoughts can be reframed. When women come together in spaces that are real, that are supportive, that are honest, they realise, it's not just me after all. And isn't that a relief? And that is the beginning of reclaiming deep confidence. So let's talk about what success is, what it's supposed to mean, and how to reframe it. Now, so many women, myself included, are carrying outdated, inherited, or simply impossible definitions of success around, of what success should look like. And we tell ourselves that by a certain age, we should have certain things figured out. Maybe we should be making 6 or 7 figures in our business by now. Maybe we should have a thriving business, a happy family, strong relationships, a work-life balance, time for self-care, and who knows what other pressures we put on ourselves to have figured out. And to me, that description does not fit under the word success. It's far more accurate for the word perfection. And we all know chasing perfection is damn near impossible. But because we associate these things with success, our real lives, they just can't match up. And business gets hard, relationships change, we change, our goals change, life gets messy. So when we start to pivot or take time to pause, we can feel like we've missed the mark. But that doesn't mean we're not successful. It means that we've been holding ourselves to a version of success that was never ours to begin with. Or it's a version of success that belongs to a younger, more immature version of ourselves. For many women, the shoulds, and that's in inverted commas, the shoulds come from everywhere. Maybe it's family expectations or school achievements or what our peers in business are doing or comparing ourselves on social media. So when we step off the traditional path to create something of our own, we don't always have a roadmap to follow, but we do have a lot of pressure to prove that we made the right choice. So when things don't go as planned, or even when they do, but we're left with that unfulfilled feeling, we're left wondering, now what? This is why it's so powerful to pause and ask yourself honestly, what does success look like for me now? At this stage in my life, what do I want most? And more importantly, to ask yourself, what am I willing to let go of to make space for that? Redefining success, stripping it away from meaning perfection, you've got it all handled, is one of the most liberating moves that you can make. When we create our own definitions, when we take the time to create a vision of success unique to us, the outside influences, they fade away. We stop asking why other women have it figured out when we haven't. We stop comparing ourselves. We stop the external and the internal pressure because we realize that all we have to do is take steps towards that specific and unique goal. Now, I want to hit on a specific word that I use there. I use the word stop. I really want you to pause and consider what the definition of success is for you. There's a great quote from a book that says, when you press pause on a machine, it stops. But when you press pause on human beings, that's when they start. And that is why I'm saying stop, pause, redefine what success means to you. Because for so many high-achieving women, there is discomfort in stopping, in pausing. And I believe there's a deep connection between confidence and momentum. When we're in motion, when we're making progress, ticking things off, seeing the results, we naturally get a confidence boost, right? We feel capable, we feel clear. like we're on the right path. But is it the right path simply because we're going top speed down the hill? Is it the right path because we feel we're in momentum? But when things feel slow or still or stagnant, when the results slow down or we're unsure of that next step, when we don't have a clear vision of what is actually ahead, that confidence starts to waver and we begin to second guess ourselves. We take fewer risks, we slow way down. So that pause in momentum doesn't just affect our strategy, it starts to shake our identity. I see this especially with women business owners because our sense of self is often closely tied to our precious work. When business is thriving, we feel strong, valuable, purposeful. When it's not, we internalize that. I am raising both hands on this. When things are going well, confident. When things are not going well, sometimes it can all go through the toilet. So we internalize that. We start to feel like we are falling short, not just in business, but in life. So I want you to remember that momentum is powerful, but it's not just about the hustle or the speed. It is about alignment. It is about feeling that we are in sync with who we are and where we're going. And when that alignment slips, it's not just strategy we need to revisit, it's self-trust. It's self-compassion. It's our own definition of success. It's about giving ourselves permission to move forward in the right direction, even if it's one tiny step at a time. That momentum builds real, deep confidence, the kind of confidence that sticks around even when life gets messy or things get uncertain. It helps us separate our identity with the amount of success that we're experiencing. It helps us remember what our true goals are, what our values are, what we're proud of ourselves for, no matter how the business is doing. I also want to propose an idea that might sound a little nuts, but this truly changes how you frame all of this in your brain. What if your confidence crisis is actually a sign that you're on the edge of reinvention? I know that the word reinvention can have a crazy, scary ring to it, but what if those emotions you're feeling right now are actually indications of your evolution, of your growth, of healthy change? It's uncomfortable because that version of you that used to fit the roles, the goals, the definition of success may be starting to feel too small. You've outgrown it. Even if you can't see what is next, it still feels like an ill-fitting shirt. That restlessness, that self-doubt, that comparison game, it's all part of shedding an old version of you and making space for a new version. And it's not that you're broken or falling behind. You can't be late for your own life. It's that you're evolving. And guess what? Evolution is rarely graceful. It can feel like confusion. It feels like questioning everything. Like standing in the hallway between two rooms, not quite where you were, but not yet where you're going. Like on a trapeze and you're holding on to one rung and you know you need to let go in order to catch the next one. And the truth is reinvention doesn't usually start with clarity. It starts with discomfort. And I, like you, hate it. I like clarity. It takes courage to sit with it instead of rushing back to what's familiar. So if you're in a place where your old definitions of success no longer feel right, if your confidence is shaky and you're wondering, what now? Take heart. That's not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter for you, one where you no longer are just building a business, you're building a life that fits with who you are now. So I want to give you a piece of homework to try out for the next week. I don't usually do this on the show, but I really want us to play with this. There are some things to unlearn in order to change your direction and step into the next chapter. And I'm going to give them to you now. The first thing to unlearn is this, that success should follow a predictable path. And that means we put in the work, we see the results. It doesn't work that way. It's messy. We have to constantly redefine what it means to us. You're going to take detours, and those detours might feel like failures. The second thing to unlearn is the belief that changing your mind means that you are flaky. I have this one. I'm healing myself. Now, you might be on one track for 10 years and then realize you want to change course. That's okay. We are way beyond the time where we have to do the same thing all our lives. That is an old idea. Change your mind. Change your definition of success. Change what you want. Change how you work. You can say, this no longer fits who I am today, and that is okay. And on top of that, you also don't have to justify changing your mind. You don't need permission. It's your business. It's your life. The next thing that I want you to work on unlearning is the idea that you have to have it all figured out before you start. Now, I wholeheartedly believe that clarity truly only comes when we take action. You learn what you want when you take action and try things. Confidence comes from that learning, that trial and error. Waiting for certainty before making a move is just going to keep you stuck in the same spot for a long time. What else do we need to unlearn? We need to unlearn that we need someone else's permission or validation. Not everyone is going to understand your choices. And guess what? They don't need to. Your vision doesn't need to make sense to anyone else but you. Nobody. That is number 4 to unlearn. Number 5 thing to unlearn is a big one. Your worth cannot be measured by how busy you are or by your bank account balance. You don't need to earn rest. You don't need to prove your value by constantly achieving. You don't have to outperform yourself every time, every year. You have inherent value. It does not increase or decrease by the dollar amount that your promotion brings in or the money that's in the bank account. It doesn't vary whether you pull a 12-hour day or a 4-hour day. Ready for another one? You get more than one shot. You get as many shots as you like. There is no deadline for changing your life. You're allowed to reinvent, to reimagine, to rebuild as many times as you want. And finally, the thing to unlearn is that growth should feel good. It doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. There's a saying that if it's hard, you're doing it wrong, and I don't believe that to be true at all. Life can be hard. Business can be hard. If you're having a hard time, there's nothing wrong. You're not broken. It doesn't mean you're on the wrong path or that you should give up. It often means you're exactly where you need to be. Growth is hard. Growth is uncomfortable. And I want you to bring these 7 things into your week with you, these 7 things to unlearn, and remember them. I'll put a summary of them on our show notes page, and I'll tell you where to find that in a minute, just so you don't have to write them down right now. But I want you to bring these 7 things into your week with you and remember them. And I want you to know if you're stuck in a funk or your confidence is low or you're feeling disconnected from your purpose and unsure, it's just that you're out of alignment. And when you're out of alignment, don't push harder. Pause. Take the time, take the space, reconnect with what is true for you. So get quiet, get comfortable, settle into the discomfort of stopping, of pausing, and reflect. And reconnect with what lights you up. Try not to ruminate here. There's a big difference between spinning in self-doubt and intentionally looking at what has worked, what hasn't, what have you learned. And then one aligned step in the direction you want to go after the other is going to get you where you want to be. It doesn't have to be a huge leap, just something small that aligns with your heart and feels right. What is it that you're yearning? What is that call that you're hearing? Could you take a small step towards it and the next step will come? Taking the time to step away and reconnect with what you want is an act of self-leadership. It's a process I love helping women with more than anything. These moments where we start to crack open a new version of ourselves is where I know that I can make the biggest difference to women. But stepping away is essential because sometimes the only way to hear yourself again is to get away from the noise. And I found this time and time again. When you're constantly in the day-to-day, serving clients, managing the team, running the household and your responsibilities, it's easy to lose sight of who you are beneath those roles and responsibilities. The noise is just too loud. Because there is a woman under all that who has a vision for her life. Behind the business owner or the entrepreneur or the mother or the partner or the sister or all the roles that you are is you and what you really want. That is who you want to realign with. And that type of purpose is really difficult to find when you're buried under your to-do lists. And you can't find it taking an afternoon off now and then or getting a massage. Stepping away creates space for clarity, for reconnection, for asking those deeper questions of what do I want now? What is calling me forward? Which is pretty damn brave. And it can be joyous. It's brave to walk away from the familiar, even briefly. It's brave to say, I'm prioritizing myself, my clarity, my future. That kind of bravery is essential because change requires courage. Not the dramatic kind of courage, but the quiet, powerful kind that says, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to invest in myself and to go and find them. And in stepping away, we loosen the grip of old stories, of old identities, of old definitions of success. And I want to read a quote from one of our fabulous networkers, one of our members, Chantel Gilbert. She decided to step away a number of years ago now. She came to Her Business Reach retreat in Hawaii. And afterwards she said this. She said, when I signed up for the retreat, it was something for me, because I wanted to get clear on what I wanted and how the business and my vision fit together. I wanted to put myself first. And this is the first time, she says, in all my life that I have said, I'm spending money on me and this is just for me. The business is such a big part of me, and being here at the retreat helps me make sure that it's still serving me and what I want. You deserve to prioritize yourself sometimes, just like Chantel did. And I can't tell you the difference that it's made for Chantel and how she's grown her business in leaps and bounds since she took that time to reconnect with how is that business serving her and what did she really want. And it's in these new environments surrounded by the right energy and possibility that we're able to remember who we are and who we are becoming, where we aren't plugged into the programming that is no longer serving us, the old tape that plays in our head. We have an opportunity coming up for you to step away and take time, just like Chantel did, and it's at the Her Business Trailblazers experience coming up in October. I'm taking 10 women back to my home country for 8 days. It's a luxury retreat. I'm going to take good care of you on the island of Crete, where we're going to take time for ourselves while walking ancient trails, immersing ourselves in culture, and retreating in order to rise when we come home. So it's a business retreat, but it's in a beautiful location where you're really going to be nurtured and taken care of. Now, those spots are filling up, and you have until the 15th of June if you want to take advantage of the early bird pricing. So if you are interested in joining us, I encourage you to head to herbusinesstrailblazers.com at the end of the episode to apply. So it's an application process, and then we have a conversation, and if it's a good fit for you, then we'll offer you one of those places. And so if this episode has spoken to you, then I'd really like for you to apply. We do have a cap of 10 women, and I hope that you'll consider being one of them. And you can head over to our show notes. If you didn't catch that link that I just gave you, I'll put the information over on our show notes page on our website. It's going to be the perfect setting for you to step back and reconnect to the you that is there buried or waiting to emerge. The you without the labels and the roles, coming back with an understanding of where to take your business and your life next. It's an opportunity to make a brave decision to choose you, to listen deeply to your heart's desire, to come back not just refreshed, but rewritten. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Her Business Podcast. This topic is very close to my heart because I have personally experienced the turmoil that a crisis in confidence can create, and I see other women business owners dealing with the same challenges. So I encourage you to join us. I'm going to put a link over to our website with all the resources and details that I've mentioned here today, including a list of the 7 things that we want to unlearn. And you'll find that information at herbusiness.com/311, herbusiness.com/311. And of course, if you'd like to join us in Crete, head over to herbusinesstrailblazers.com. Thank you so much for listening. I've loved doing this episode for you, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on the Her Business Podcast. Bye for now.